Hello, everybody. My name is Andreas Diaz, or my YouTube name, Andreas, the Pop Culture Guy channel presents. Today, we're going to discuss the Robocop 2 film, directed by Irvin Kershner and starring Pete Weller, Nancy Allen. Today, my co-host today is Will Allen. Will, say hi.
Hey everyone, Andres, thanks for having me.
No problem. So thank you for being here. I know this was, maybe a last minute or just, yeah, I really need to touch this film, So this year it has its anniversary. This is the 30th anniversary of the film. Came out in 1990. The release date was in June 22nd, so it was last week. So now, Will, overall, what do you think about this film? And quick question: have you seen the Robocop films?
I had not previously, but I watched Robocop last night, and then I watched Robocop 2 this morning to prepare for this discussion.
Wow! So this is your first time seeing these two films? Oh wow!
Yeah, I had never seen them before.
Oh wow, that's incredible. Yeah. Okay. So let's do a quick impression. What do you think about the first film?
I really enjoyed the first film. I thought it had a lot of cool action scenes. I thought there was a lot of interesting social commentary, especially around policing and capitalism that seems very relevant right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun and just like a really smart satire.
Yeah, it is. Probably the most famous is "I buy that for $1." That's
right. Yeah, that was a good
such a
good line that kept showing up.
Yeah, such a running gag in that film. That's so funny. Okay, so that's pretty great because the first film I like it too. It's probably one of my favorite sci-fi films. It's one of the best satires in general. I think it just does everything right. It is kind of like a superhero film done right. Like it's like an origin story for Robocop. It has so much just meat to it, and like yeah, and you're right. The action is really great. I mean, the drug factory raid was just incredible. I mean, it's just so impactful, and the score by Baz Frailetis, the Robocop theme is such an iconic thing. It's amazing. So pretty much today we're talking about the sequel, and so getting into Robocop 2, what do you think about the film as a follow-up? What do you think overall of Robocop 2, Will?
I thought it was fun, but it wasn't like as strong as the original. There's a running like plot line in the sequel where they're constantly looking for a Robocop to like another candidate to put through the Robocop program, and they can't find anyone that has the same like intelligence and heart as Officer Murphy, and I feel like that's a great metaphor for Robocop 2 film as well. It's there's something missing. There's a lot of like really good parts there. It's got a lot of the same parts as the original. There's a lot of the same themes, same great action, but something's missing.
Yeah. I'll just get into my mindset. I think Robocop 2 is a just okay film. It's a luck. It's other words, it's a lackluster sequel that has so much potential in the film. Like it has so many potential ideas they can explore more, but they just don't take it. Unfortunately, this sequel has so many of like sequel problems of they were rushing to get this film for a release date. They wanted to get a franchise going, and so it just left no time for the creators of this film to develop a very good film, just like the first film, and just quick things, trivia. Like this film is not directed by Paul Verhoeven, the first film director. This film was directed by, of course, Irvin Kershner. Now, if you don't know who Irvin Kershner is for this film, he is the famed director of Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
So you know, you have a professional seasoned director, and I think he did a really good job of the action scenes. Like the action scenes are still good, and I'm very impressed of how they're choreographed and how they shoot, and there's very good sense of what's going on in the scenes. Especially the opening scene. I would say the opening scene of Robocop 2, you know, when Robocop arrives in the crime, like the armor robbing store thing, such a iconic thing. It's so bombastic and it's just incredible opening scene.
Yeah. The the scene where like that you were talking about where his
Uh-huh.
car blows up and like
Yeah.
flips several times, and then he just steps out and he's recreating that poster from the first movie.
Yes. Oh,
That
yes,
was really cool.
that's
Yeah.
true. I never thought about that. That's a good point. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, and the thing like starts to kick in when his foot stepped down. Like it gives you that adrenaline, and it's like, oh
Mhm.
yes, they're gonna be just they're gonna be messed up.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So right now, let's go into like, so Will, what's the best aspects of the film? What's the best thing about the film for you?
Um, I think it would have to be the action scenes.
Hmm.
Like there was one particular part around like the midpoint of the movie where there was a car chase and RoboCop was chasing Cain, or it started with Cain driving his van
Yes.
like, through the streets of Detroit, and RoboCop was like grabbing onto the front of the van.
Yeah.
That action scene had a lot of really cool, just like sequences, like the part where Cain is ramming the side of the van into a brick wall, and RoboCop's like stuck there, and there's sparks flying everywhere because his suit is like rubbing against the wall. But my favorite part of that scene was when they drive the van through that bar,
Oh
and there's
yes.
that slow mo part where you see like it's like subtly slow motion, but you see the bricks come apart, and then um, the van just plows through every part of the bar, and it's like a pretty short shot, but it must have taken so much work to get everything to like break away, and there are actors that are leaving at like the absolute last second to
Yes.
like get out of the way. It's amazingly well coordinated.
Yeah. And quick thing about that scene as well, Will, you can hear someone say "son of a gun" in the background. You can hear it a little bit when the car is coming into that bar. It's
Mm-hmm.
so funny. It's one of those like funny extra saying something, and it's just hilarious. Um, yeah, I totally agree with you. The action scenes are pretty top notch in the film. Um, yeah. Anything else besides the action scenes?
I think there's a lot of like cool ideas in the film. I'm not sure if they were like executed very well, but like the part at the beginning where RoboCop is stalking his former wife, right? I guess
Yeah, his wife.
it's
Well,
still death to us part. Like he kind of died, so I guess they aren't
I
married.
it's weird.
Yeah,
I
his ex-wife.
yeah, I,
He's like stalking her and kind of like confronting his humanity, and like I thought that was a really interesting um, theme that they were going to approach in the movie. But then there's that scene where he talks to his ex-wife and he like tells her like her husband is dead, I'm not him anymore, and he decides that he's like going to shut off his humanity. And then I thought that would be like a cool theme for the movie to explore, like can he really do that, since we saw at the end of the first movie that he really is, he has retained a lot of that humanity, but then the movie just kind of takes that at face value and never revisits that decision.
yeah, yeah. That plot point was, I think, the most disappointing. Like for me, like it's such an interesting plot point and such a good social like sci-fi idea. Like, oh, sorry, you gonna say something, Will?
No, I was just agreeing with you.
Oh, okay. You know, like, yeah. it's such a good sci-fi idea about like is Alex, Alex Murphy, Robocop, is he still a man or is he a machine or he's more machine?
Mhm.
Like that's such a good direction they can go for the sequel. Last because the first film is him rediscovering who he was before the Robocop program. And the sequel, you want to explore more about is he a man or is he part machine? Or, like, and I agree with you. They didn't took it anywhere. And I guess this would be a good transition to the worst aspects of the film. And I want to go first because
Mhm.
I want to say out loud that this film is a good example of just not taking ideas to its full extent. And as you mentioned before, the plot line about the wife, I think was the most disappointing. They just didn't took it where it was just a way to like kind of cut loose ends for the first film, which is weird. Like
Right.
if you're not gonna do it, then don't bring it at all in the sequel. And then my worst aspect of this film is just there's too many plot lines and just storylines to jam packed in this film. It's just they don't get served. You got this first the first plot that is interesting and it's kind of like relatable and has happened before is like OCP trying to take under the city. That's happened with Detroit recently, 2013, with the bankruptcy they had.
Right. Yeah.
2013. Like, and then you have this other plot about the drug stuff, nuke, which is interesting. I mean, but like, it's like why we need that, and then it doesn't go together with the film. They just I feel like the producers needed to just pick one plot line to go with and just make that as the through line throughout the film, not jam these two like big ideas to go with. And I like your, of course, it's good. Will you mentioned about like the idea of RoboCop 2, getting another RoboCop, someone that didn't. They were trying to find another Alex Murphy, but then they went with a radical decision of getting a criminal. Is an interesting idea, but it's too. It's like it's introduced halfway in the film and too late in the film because there's interesting ideas of what OCP are doing, and I just feel like it's
Also, it's played straight. Like I feel like the idea of like, well, we're gonna create a cop, but we're gonna use the mind of a serial killer, like the like
yeah,
high-end criminal, is so bizarre. But the
yeah,
the way that they present it, it's just this like very intelligent woman is like, what if we put a criminal's brain in there? And then um, the head of OCP is just like, she's a beautiful woman. I'll do whatever she says, and that's it. That's the reason. Um,
yeah,
it's weird.
yeah. It's just characters making stupid decisions, especially the old man. Like I feel like he's such a different character from the last film. It like he,
Yeah,
you know,
because at the end of the movie, he was like kind of a good guy, right? And he fired
he fired
the
Dick.
right and allowed RoboCop to take him out.
Yeah,
But I feel like they could have made him the villain in RoboCop 2 and had it be consistent because
hmm.
like a large theme is like the evils of capitalism and like corporate greed. So I could see the head of the um, evil mega corporation being evil, even if in the first one the bad guy was the second in command.
Yeah,
But watching um, the first movie and then kind of very soon after going into the second one, it was a little jarring because he's seen as like a more positive figure in the first movie, and then immediately he's the bad guy.
yeah. And yeah, I agree because if you made the old man bad guy in the next film, it makes sense logically to the film sequel. Because last film, yeah, you have Boris Bodiker, the main villain, but he's like the second antagonist, where the main bad guy was Dick Jones, and played by Ronnie Cox, of course. And like he was in OCP, you know, he had motive, and I think like it just shows how they weren't thinking about the universe they set up for Robocop, and like they like I don't know, like were they afraid of trying to not to repeat too much of the first film? I mean, that's the thing. You don't want to repeat too much of the same ideas from the first film. So, but then it just like because like the villain we got like Cain, you know, the drug lord of Nuke, he's okay. It's like there's some interesting ideas I like. I like how the drug called Nuke can like give the people like what is it like the sense of you're in like a island or like you're like you're giving this like where like paradise you're feeling in your brain or something like that. That's an interesting idea, but like it just feels off. Like I mean, doing drugs in a RoboCop it makes sense. He's a RoboCop. He's a cop. I'm fine with that. It was just for me. It just shows the lack of commitment of a storyline. Their storyline they want to do, and like, but like when you watch this film, it's like literally the nuke thing is the most like thing they develop. Like, and it's interesting. Like, I think you can just Dr. Fax, that's the female character that gets up with Old Man. I can understand what she's trying to do. Like if you get a like a criminal in a brain for Robocop, but like you can probably control it by any like a necessity they have like before where like you know Cain was addicted to Nuke. And you saw when he was already in the Robocop 2 armor. And like we saw how she was having the nuke you know the full bottle red nuke, and like he was like having you know his chest was popping that thing like gimme, and she was like wait here I'll make you a deal and you get this, and he stopped and listen. That's an interesting sci-fi thing. That's actually interesting, but they didn't do anything with it, you know.
Right. Yeah. Like kind of manipulating him through his chemical dependency to like follow her orders is a very interesting idea. And then yeah, like after that scene, it's never mentioned. Like we see his chemical dependency come up, but it's not like her manipulating him through it ever again.
No, I mean especially towards the end, where the old man's like he just waves it to like here's the bottle of Nuke, and he looks at it, it's like oh, and it's like. And that's the thing. These characters make stupid decisions. Like, why she, like, did she know that old man was carrying a nuke, and she didn't know that he was gonna react to it? Like, it's just like, it's just a sample of characters not thinking at all. I want to bring up one thing. I think another disappointing thing about RoboCop 2 is the Alex and what is it? What's his female character's name? Lewis. Lewis.
Yeah, Lewis.
I was so disappointed in like explore their friendship or anything. It was just like she was kind of there.
She was barely in the movie, yeah.
Yeah, and that was one of the aspects that was so great about the first film. She had like an arc in the first film. She's trying to redeem herself of what she had done to Alex. You know, she let Alex go into to a crime. That you know, it's just it's crazy, and yeah, and I mean the actress Nancy Allen, you know, coming for she did not enjoy the shooting. Apparently, she you know Irvin Kershner didn't like her, and so and the script had like multiple changes. You know, like famously, Frank Miller was first approached here to write the new script for Robocop 2, and then they liked some of the ideas, but then they brought another one to kind of repurpose his script. And I just feel like they didn't went the Alex and Lewis relationship, and it's like it's just so disappointing because that was the crush of the first film, you know.
Right. Yeah. Like again, it was another humanizing aspect of the RoboCop character that they felt the need to do away with in the sequel.
Yeah, which is weird.
Like to the film's detriment.
Yeah. Okay. What else? Oh, let me ask you something. Do you think this movie very you think this movie is very mean-spirited? Because I feel like the violence, because the first film is violent, but like it has a charm with the violence that I can be acceptable. This movie just is so violent and so mean-spirited for no reason, and it's like,
Yeah, the first movie, like all of the violence was like clearly criminal.
yeah,
Like it was always either criminals shooting innocent people or cops shooting criminals. Whereas in this one, they made it seem like violence was an everyday thing.
yeah,
Like especially with the children that they had in this movie.
yeah.
So
I
there's like that one like 12-year-old kid that's a drug kingpin somehow.
uh,
But there's also um, the like minor league or the like little league baseball team that
I
just
know,
beats up a shop owner
I know.
uh, for no reason.
Well, um, Will, I want to explain that.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I mentioned before. Not and there's a problem where the movie's not communicating the ideas they're presenting for the audience.
Right.
So here's the thing: the beginning of the film, and the reason I'm saying that the nuke plot is like the majority of the film, not the OCP plot line, is that
Mm-hmm.
in the film is applying that Kane's nuke is giving Detroit this addiction and is making the city fall apart.
Right.
So OCP sees this opportunity to take over Detroit because of what nuke is doing.
Yeah, and they
So
uh, push the cops to go on strike to make sure crime is even worse. So Detroit's in a worse place, so they can eventually buy it out after it goes bankrupt.
exactly. And speaking of the opening scene, to go back to that, there's a scene when you see when Robocop, ready to take down the bad guys in the armory store. He keeps one bad guy alive to interrogate.
Mm-hmm.
He goes and look at the robber's car, and he sees nuke, and it
Right.
indicates that okay, they're there to not only to steal but like probably get some cash to get more nuke. It's
Yeah.
showing how the nuke is literally addicting everyone with this drug, and they're going to do extreme measures to get that drug again.
Yeah.
And it's the most interesting idea, but they don't talk about it enough. And I mean, they do, but then it gets lost towards like the third act, where we're just like going into the OCP plot line and then et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where this is where the violence, like this is where like the mean spirited violence, you're thinking to yourself, okay, it's just why you're doing this, and then it's like, oh, they're like I'm explaining what it's applying, but then it gets kind of lost with the violence, and just it's just like it's like too much, really.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, what else? That was, what do you think about the villains? Cain and his gang. Like, what do you think about them as villains of this film?
I thought they weren't as interesting as the villains of the first movie.
Mm, yeah, yeah.
That
It's
their like motives weren't as clear.
no, I, yeah, I, yeah. It's very cliche. Like he's like a cult leader, and like like he's trying to rebuild the society from with this drug he created, and it's all interesting, but it doesn't get enough to talk about in the film, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, yeah, and then I mean, I mean Kane, I mean, yeah, they're no like Dick Jones or you know uh Boris Boddicker again, it's just like they're just there, you know. Okay. I think. Speaking of worst aspect, what do you think about the new score for this film? They didn't return the classic Robocop theme. What do you think about this new theme they created in this film?
I thought it was okay, but I missed the iconic one from the original.
Yeah, yeah, that's another like sign of just not being consistent with your film.
Right.
It's kind of like Star Trek, you know, like the original. Like you got the Jerry Goldsmith from the motion picture, and then you got when you get into Star Trek 2, it's like a different score, and then and then by like what third like by the because the third one is with the same composer, so you got the same music from Star Trek 2. But then when you get to 4, it's different, and then 5 is again Jerry Goldsmith, and then 6 is a entirely different score. It's like here it's like they changed the score for no reason, and then the third one, which I don't want to talk too much, but like it brings back the classic thing, I would say, and I mean it's only the best thing about Robocop 3. So.
So I shouldn't watch RoboCop 3 after this.
Like no, I mean, watch it for just curiosity. I mean, the film, just quick. I mean, like RoboCop 3 is bad for just like they tried to change some stuff. They tried to do insert ideas, but they don't fully execute right. Like, and also that film is PG-13, which kind of hurts it kind of hurts the franchise you've been following for the first 2 films.
Yeah, 'cause the ultra violence was kind of a staple of it. Like I know that the first movie was originally X-rated.
Yeah.
Because of the violence, and then they had to edit it down so they could get an R rating, and it took a while. I think I saw there were like 11 different X-rated cuts before they finally got one that appealed to the censors.
Yes, I know. Like, did you seen the boardroom for the first film? Like, that was much more gorier than you saw.
And even in the cut that I watched the R-rated version, but even in that cut, it's just pretty gross. It's pretty gruesome.
I mean, it's still shocking. I think the first film does a really good job of like shock you, but in the right way. And I don't think RoboCop 2 really does that well.
Right. It's ultra violent, but not in a way that makes you like horrified by the violence.
Yeah.
Which I think is I think the purpose of the violence in the first movie was to make you feel the intensity of it, to make you like fearful of it. Whereas in the second one, it was more like, oh, cool action scene, you know, a little glorifying.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part. So let's get into like, I mean, you got into watching these first 2 films. Well, and let me ask you something. What do you think about the legacy of the film? Like, what you heard about the legacy of this film, RoboCop 2, in your mind? You know, and internet and everyone.
Well, before watching these movies, my impression of the RoboCop movies was that, like, have you seen the show Community?
Not really. I just heard of it. So
yeah, like in the show, a few of the characters are fans of this film series called Kick Puncher, and it's like a RoboCop parody about a cyborg cop whose punches have the power of kicks, and it's just like very like cheesy and poorly made. And I just, whenever I thought of RoboCop, I just remembered Abed from Community saying like, "I am Kick Puncher," and like being dressed up in a bunch of cardboard boxes. So that was like my impression of the franchise, was like, yeah, it's basically just that. So I was pleasantly surprised when it was, you know,
Oh my God.
better than that. I don't know why I thought it would actually be the same as a parody of it, but
No.
and it's interesting to see how the like the franchise has impacted pop culture.
Right.
Just like they're like different shots and things from the movies that I recognized in a lot of like other films that I've seen. And then I was very surprised that Robocop 2 was very, very similar to Iron Man 2 in terms of plot.
Oh
Just
my
like
God.
basically identical.
Very good. Yeah. I mean, I will say I'll watch this movie over I'll watch Robocop 2 over Iron Man 2. Just
Okay, I think I would rather watch Iron Man 2.
whoa, that's okay. I mean, as an Iron Man fan, I like watching Iron Man 2 in theaters. I was so disappointed, and I mean,
Yeah.
it gets better, especially when you like get into the other movies. You know, like Winter Soldier makes Iron Man 2 better, and I can see.
Right. Yeah, because like retroactively, you're like, oh, that guy was Hydra. That makes him wanting an Iron Man suit way
Yeah.
more dangerous. Yeah, I like Iron Man 2 has Justin Hammer, which is just a great character, and it's got a lot of
Yeah.
like it's definitely one of the worst Marvel movies, but it's still like a fun action flick.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you're right. Like it's similar to Iron Man 2. Yeah, it has like they both have a couple of great ideas and plot points they can go with,
Mhm.
and then it doesn't get really wrapped up or like not executed towards the third act. Like it just they go to a different like it goes to a 180 degree in the
Yeah.
third act.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
even like specific parts of the plot, like
Uh-huh.
there's two main villains. There's like a corporate leader and a criminal, and then eventually they team up, and the criminal gets a super suit and fights the hero. There's that montage in both movies of the corporation trying to recreate the hero.
Oh
So that, like,
yes. Oh my God. You. Oh my.
which is my favorite part of both movies is
Yes. Agreed.
the part where OCP is trying to uh, like show off RoboCop 2, and the first one like comes out and then shoots the scientists that are like
There. Like.
demonstrating it, and then it shoots itself in the head. And there's that one really cool scene where like the second version of RoboCop 2 steps out
Yeah.
and just screams, takes its helmet off, and it's this like melting skull, and then it falls over.
I know.
Like,
That's my favorite part.
yeah. But then in Iron Man 2, there's when Tony Stark is in that Senate hearing, and they're showing like the Hammer Tech version, and the armor like twists around and snaps the pilot's spine.
Yeah. Oh my
It's
God. I can't believe it. Yeah, you're totally right. It's so similar to Iron Man 2. Yeah, and I will say, I mean, just like Iron Man 2, the humor is like hit and miss.
mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I think Robocop 2 is funnier over Iron Man 2 because there's some jokes in Iron Man 2 I don't like really care for, or I don't like it. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah. What else? Yeah. I mean, like it also has like, the first Iron Man movie has a different score, just like RoboCop 2 has one as well, like a different score. And then what else? Like I mean, and you're right. Like in Iron Man 2, it's definitely Iron Man 2 is better than RoboCop 2 because like they explore more about Stark's father, and then obviously it gets more expanded upon in the Marvel Cinematic Universe later on. So yeah, so that's very true. Yeah, wow. Yeah. And also just a big shout out to Iron Man 2. It's his 10th anniversary this year.
Oh
Um,
yeah, they came out in 2010.
yep. So it's
Oh, I
crazy,
feel
man.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, crazy. In June, like Toy Story 3 came out that year, and then Inception. It's like, oh, big,
Oh.
big year. So yeah. Okay. All right. So let's see what to do. I guess the big question is this a good follow up to the first Robocop? Will you think it's a good follow up to Robocop, or is it a just not a good follow up at all?
Um, I wouldn't say it's not a good follow up at all, because I think it was like a fun movie to watch. But I think it it like teased at expanding the story and themes of the first movie, and then ultimately didn't really do anything new or interesting with them. So I would say it's disappointing in that sense.
Mm, yeah, yeah. Um, for me, it's not a good follow up in terms of it. Like it contradicts and not following up the ideas or like the potential ideas that the ending of the first film applied for the main character, like because like towards the end of the film, like Robocop, like Alex's voice starts to become more human.
Right.
Like towards the end, he just say Murphy, and it's not like a robotic sound; it sounds more like human. And
Mm-hmm.
like that's such a like a powerful image. And like in the sequel, he has this robotic voice. I mean, it still sounds like Pierre Weller's voice,
Mm-hmm.
but it totally destroys the first film's ending. And like and um it just lacks the kind of like it lacks the satire or like the strong like heavy violence humor that the first one contained.
Yeah, I think they they kind of stripped the franchise of its humanity.
Yes,
Um,
literally.
and yeah, it's very similar to the character himself. And then, like the second one, rather than being like a very clever science fiction story, feels more like a comic book movie or like just a
Mm.
like popcorn action flick, which is disappointing because the first movie was just such like an interesting
It
um,
was, and it was so much more. That's the thing, right?
yeah, like the first movie, there was like an intelligence behind it, and it wasn't just like action scene after action scene.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Um, I mean, so you have more time, like you have more time to talk a little bit. I will.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
do.
Okay. So we should not. I don't know. Like I should rank the films. Like you haven't seen the third film, which is, I mean, I don't know why I want to rank these films. I mean, especially like the remake. It's another problem.
Is it
Um,
not good either?
no, it's one of those remakes that's like destroys what makes RoboCop RoboCop, and it's
Yeah,
PG
I
13.
could see it just being another action movie instead of like a smart social commentary.
Yeah, it has one of the most amazing casts, and they don't use them properly. Like Michael Keaton, Gary Oldman, and Samuel L. Jackson are in that film,
Wow,
and it's like,
that is a good cast.
yeah, and I forgot what person that's like in the Seth Rogen crew. He's there. He voiced uh the guy, the main character for How Train Your Dragon. Um,
Oh, Jay Baruchel.
yes, he's in that movie. Jackie Earl Haley is in that film, and uh, the main RoboCop character actor is Joel Kinnaman. He plays Alex Murphy in that film.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, and the film is PG-13, which that's not like, and I guess another like interesting trivia fact. Um, there is another development of a Robocop film. It's still titled Robocop Returns. They're trying to do like the recent Halloween, like Star Wars Force Awakens, of being like a true sequel to the first film.
Right.
And
So that they just ignore all of the other films that have been made and just
exactly.
a sequel to the original.
Yeah.
I could be interested in that. The 33-year time difference would be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know how they would handle that. Does
I
RoboCop age?
I mean, like, well, like, okay, like, this is the word. Theoretically, no. Like, the face should not be changing. Like, it's a
Like,
robot. It can.
but the face isn't a robot though.
Well, yeah. It's how you call it. It's like a aesthetic skin. It's not like flesh, but it's
Oh,
like,
I thought it was like his actual skin.
yeah. I don't know about that. Well, they don't really address that in the first two films. Like, you just had to imagine that they just made like what's the word, I just say it, aesthetic skin for it to not look threatening enough for the public, just look more friendly. And
Hmm.
that's the one aspect that's kind of weird. Like, they kept his face, and it's like, why you didn't like cover up entirely. I don't know. It's just weird. Yeah, and this new, like this, so many development of Robocop Returns that the original writers from the first one are doing it. Before a director was on it, and it was like Neil Blomkamp, the director of
Hmm.
District 9 and Elysium, was
Okay.
supposed to do it, but then he left. So we have a new director. I don't have the name right now, the new director. So I don't know. I'm a little concerned about it a little bit. For me, these, like, it could go in a good way, like Halloween for me, or it could have gone really bad, like Force Awakens, and just in terms of like you're just rehashing things,
Hmm.
which I don't like, especially in Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Um, I think the only way you can make the film be interesting and like you make people more to go out to see this film is where you are. This, like,
Yeah, I'm sure it will be.
yeah,
Especially if the original writer is returning.
mm,
I'm a little more hopeful for it.
true, true. Yeah, and and lately the radar um system has been more popular now, thanks to Deadpool and Logan, now Joker.
Hmm.
And so I think there's not going to be no question. Like, we need to get this back to where you are, because I will say this legacy of the film is the last, like, for me in my review. I want to go back to the question of the legacy of this film.
Hmm.
It's not only a disappointment follow-up to the original film, but it's also the last time you will really see a true Robocop film, because after this we're just going to make Robocop a kid-friendly product, and that's
Hmm.
not the nature of the character or the film franchise as a whole. And they just miss the mark sometimes. It's like, yes, kids like these characters, but not because like they like it because it's hard, or like it has meat to it, and it's a and you take away the thing it's most suitable for, you're just alienating people.
Hmm.
And I feel like the later sequels or remakes becoming PG-13 and try to be like friendly audience, just not what the franchise is known for. And so
Yeah.
hopefully it gets back to the root of it, and stuff like that. Yeah. Uh, I should say, well, we're doing good in time. Let's kind of discuss conclusion. Overall, what do you think about this film, Will, in terms of conclusion? And will you ever go back to seeing this film, Will?
Um, I can't really say that I find myself wanting to go back to it. I think
Yeah.
it was there wasn't enough there for me to want to revisit it, but I definitely think I would rewatch the first film.
Mm.
I really enjoyed that. Um, I really liked the social commentary on like policing and the militarization of the police.
Yeah.
I thought it was there were a lot of really cool like sci-fi elements where like the weird science fiction construct of like a cyborg were explored really well and kind of elevated the plot and themes of the film. But the sequel, like again, like it had those elements, but it didn't really do enough to grab me, and it didn't explore them as thoroughly. So I don't know if I feel like I need to revisit this one.
No, I agree with you. Um, and it's a shame because I think Robocop 2 can be, a great sequel, but unfortunately, it just didn't meet its expectations right, and it's going to be the last film for like Robocop fans to just enjoy the radar system of Robocop, and 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 this is like the last film you see like the old man. He doesn't come back unfortunately in the third film because the actor passed away unfortunately around that time after
That's too bad.
yeah, which is sad because I like that old man actor and he's really great in these first two films. And I guess I want to talk like, do you remember a memorable line in RoboCop 2?
Trying to think.
Sure.
I really can't think of any.
Oh, okay. I want to mention one. There's one towards the, like in the boardroom at top of the building of OCP when Cain starts to attack people. The old man, there's this like a quick shot of the old man saying this hilarious line that just comes out of nowhere. He say, "Behave yourself," and then we just got back and RoboCop shooting, and then he like get a close up of his eyes and like, oh, like he's like a really old grumpy man. It's like these kids are making a mess out of it. Oh, it's such a meme from RoboCop 2. Like if you check like Tumblr or like anyone, that is the line people remember. It's the last line that you hear for the film trailer. They put that towards the end of the film trailer, and it's so funny. It's like, behave yourself. It's so like what? Like another one was the character Miss Fax. She says something when she was trying to reprogram Robo Cain, and then Robocop say, "Cain, let's step outside," and that's another memorable line as well. And she say, "You get out of here. You're obsolete." That's another like line that I kind of chuckle. It's I'm trying to figure out. Yeah. There's no memorable lines at all in this film, but there's a couple like as far in between. So yeah. So those are the ones I remember clearly. What else? Yeah, and then yeah. So yeah, folks, that's Robocop 2. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode 2 of Andreas Pop Culture Talk. Thank you, Will, for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And Will, are you interested in doing another podcast by any chance?
Yeah, it'd be fun.
You want to do Iron Man 2? Because it was kind of interesting you brought that up.
Yeah, we can do Iron Man 2.
Yeah, if you're fine with that.
Yeah, no, I love the Iron Man movies.
Oh, oh my God. I'm a big Iron Man fan. So that's cool.
Well,
all right.
I just like any Marvel movie is
that's
definitely
true.
my thing. Yeah.
I mean, hey. Yeah. Yeah, I think we should do like a podcast of the MCU before Black Widow comes out. We should do that. Just you know,
Okay, yeah.
and
Yeah.
I mean, we don't need to do like the MCU order, honestly, because there's some films they just don't address. Incredible Hulk. Anyway,
General Ross has come back a few times now.
yeah,
He's going to be in Black Widow.
yeah, that's true. That's weird. Okay.
I'm okay with skipping Incredible Hulk though.
Yeah. I like the Incredible Hulk.
It's okay.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's my second Hulk movie I saw in theaters, and like, I just love it as like a superhero film. Like, it does some stuff right. Like, I like it gets over the origin story, and then
Mm-hmm.
it has a good fast pace. The villains survive, compared to the
Mm-hmm.
other NCU films, um, and then I just been disappointed that how the MCU just doesn't talk about it. I don't like how Age of Ultron they force like Bruce and Natasha in a relationship, which
Mm-hmm.
for me as a Hulk fan, that just means you're just not mentioning Betty Ross as a character, and she's not really in this universe. Maybe I I don't like that, and
Yeah.
I mean I'm happy to see William Hart back, but like it's like why we need him? It's like we could bring other government officials from the comics.
Yeah. It could have been any general.
Yeah, I mean he's a secretary. He's like what?
Right now, yeah.
Yeah, I mean whatever. I'm just saying this like it's weird. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm very excited to talk about Iron Man 2. I see it recently, and I did like another. I did a tribute on Iron Man 2, folks. I did Iron Man 2 10th anniversary tribute, and you can check it out in my channel. I also did a Robocop 2 30th anniversary tribute as well from last week, and you can check it out on my channel. And yeah, this will be so pretty much you can have a finally confirmed another podcast that me and Will are going to do Iron Man 2, which is great, and we can maybe slowly start the MCU. I'm not guaranteeing that. Will is sometimes busy, so I cannot guarantee that stuff. So I'm excited to talk about Iron Man 2. I don't think it's the worst film of the MCU.
No.
It's just like I like some parts of it, and I don't like some parts of it. It's not Thor: The Dark World, honestly.
Yeah, that's definitely the worst one.
Yeah, like honestly, Thor: Dark was worse. And also, no worry, folks. There's gonna be another podcast on Sunday. Of course, Will knows her. It's Becca. Me and Becca are doing a OA podcast on season 1. And check that out for Sunday. Yeah. So everyone, have a nice day and goodbye.